Nepal's been through quite a lot in the recent past. And oh, by the way, there's a devastating earthquake that as they're struggling through some of the challenges that they have in Nepal, that is going to destroy the nation, the capital. Many people will die. During that time, if they have a disaster communication network based on amateur radio, we know that we'll be able to save many, many lives, perhaps thousands, perhaps tens of thousands. And I actually lived in Nepal 10 years ago for an entire year teaching at the university. And I saw firsthand with the cramped construction, the unreinforced brick building that existed, that many people would die. And I've been through some of the streets that actually will crumble when this event happens. When I returned to the United States, it became very clear to me that something had to be done, something meaningful. And we, those of us who are outside of Nepal, can actually help Nepal, work with Nepal to get something done meaningful, get it done quickly, and execute this project that eventually became radiomala.
We used to say that aid could get to a place in 2 or 3 days, but the new normal is an aid relationship where it can take days or weeks for critical aid to get into a heavily impacted disaster area. It is of vital importance that people take it upon themselves to provide their own communications, their own support, and their own infrastructure to be self-reliant and not depend on aid that can take days or weeks to come into the valley.
This technology has been around for over 100 years. This is something we really can do. We have the technology, we have the expertise. Everything is in place right now other than the funding. And one of the questions that I get asked is, well, Nepal and the developing world is such a difficult place to do business. Now, how are you so confident that you can actually get this done? What about sustainability? Well, we have a great deal of experience in making projects in Nepal successful over multiple years, over a decade as a matter of fact. When I worked in Nepal, a laboratory, one of the world's most sophisticated research and teaching laboratories, was actually donated by Agilent Technologies. And that laboratory and the program that we established there is ongoing now for over 14 years. We also, through CAN USA, installed the first split-band amateur radio UHF-VHF repeater in the history of Nepal. We did this in 2011. And right now, it's the only split-band UHF-VHF repeater that's providing service in Nepal. Radiomala is a natural extension of these efforts that we've already started.
This type of radiomala is not currently in existence in Nepal, and once this project radiomala is finished, then it can be a puzzle piece to extend the amateur radio technology across different parts of the Nepal, as well as it can be an example for other places in the world also.
In a context of a large disaster, the government is also planning to have an early deployment system for medical personnel and equipments because of mobilization of resources. Now, all this depends on communication to find out where the resources are required, how to send it, and if communication collapses, I mean, you have a good resource in one place. Tribhuvan University Teaching Hospital have a lot of doctors and nothing has happened here. But if another hospital requires doctors, if you do not communicate and find out, we will not be sending people out there. So that for that basic saving lives only, you require you require disaster risk management communication as a vital part.
And I was very impressed, by the level of preparation went into launching the radiomala and the success that they had shown, in which they were able to communicate directly, through computer to the people on the street of Kathmandu through only simply, ham radio. And when I saw it, it really dawned to me that the radiomala program is indeed a very viable, option when in emergency such as earthquake, like in a country like Nepal.
Most of us are familiar with our cellular phone system. Many of you are probably not familiar with amateur radio. When the next big disaster comes, this system will probably not be functional, not only in the Kathmandu Valley, but perhaps all across Nepal. Radiomala is helping to build a system that will use amateur radio, these devices, which are completely independent of a major phone or technology network and will be functional in the event of a disaster.
Radiomala is different because of its simplicity, you know. We have to understand here that like with Radiomala, we are not going to introduce any new technology in Nepal. The technology the system which we are going to deploy during the Radiomala project is affordable. It can be easily repaired, sustained, and the most important thing is it is already functional in the Bnet network in the Silicon Valley.
My involvement with radiomala came about through both the Wireless Communications Alliance and with Bnet, and my friendship with Suresh. I believe the radiomala is very important because bringing amateur radio into a country is one of the key ways that both technological and economic development can be accomplished. From a disaster response perspective, Bnet is very active in Northern California. We were the system that the Red Cross used during the San Bruno gas pipeline explosion when communications were necessary to coordinate disaster relief, relocation of residents, shelters, and other activities that the Red Cross engaged in during that disaster. Radiomala is really taking the architecture of Bnet and replicating it in Nepal. There's nothing different about what we're doing there versus what we're doing here. All of the things that we've learned here in Northern California through Bnet are being recreated in Nepal through Radiomala.
One of the questions that people ask is what happens to an environment like Nepal when the experts leave. Well, in this case, we're actually grooming and training the experts who are resident in Nepal, and it's not just a single individual, but institutions that we're training to help install, repair, and maintain these infrastructures. And it's a long-term relationship, and the people within Nepal and outside of Nepal are impassioned to go ahead and make this happen. But we can't do this alone. We just need a little bit more help from you.